Olga Romanov Nikolaevna was the firstborn of the last Tsar of Russia. One of 4 sisters and a brother, Alexei, the heir. Life for Olga was remarkably different from her sisters. Unlike them, she was the eldest, and came close to the chance of becoming the next reigning monarch. A very large baby girl joined the Romanov family on November 15, 1895, in St. Petersburg, Russia. On that day, her father, Tsar Nicholas II, wrote in his diary, "A day I will remember forever." At exactly 9 o'clock, a baby's cry was heard, and we all breathed a sigh of relief. With prayer, we named the daughter sent to us by God, Olga. Olga's mother, Empress Alexandra, startled her own grandmother, Queen Victoria of England, by insisting on breastfeeding her firstborn, which was quite unusual for aristocratic, let alone royal, women in the 19th century. Olga was the only one of her siblings to meet in person, her formidable English great-grandmother, who was also one of her godmothers. As Olga grew into a toddler in 1897, she became the big sister to another imperial daughter, Tatiana. In 1898, the growing family finally moved away from Nicholas's childhood home. They made the relatively intimate Alexander Palace in St. Petersburg their permanent home. In another year, Olga was joined by yet another baby sister, Grand Duchess Maria Nikolaevna. In 1901, her youngest sister, Anastasia, was born.
In 1900, before her brother was born, her father fell seriously ill. During this period, the Empress attempted to persuade her husband to change the succession laws in Russia to allow females to inherit the throne in the absence of any male heirs, in order for Olga to inherit the empire, as opposed to her uncle, Grand Duke Michael Alexandrovich. In 1904, the long-awaited birth of a male heir, Alexei Nikolaevich, to the Russian throne took place, to the elation of the imperial family and of the entire nation. But tragically, the little boy who was destined to become the next Tsar of Russia was born with the fatal medical condition, hemophilia. Tsarevich. Alexei inherited this rare and untreatable blood disorder from his mother. It had been passed down genetically to Tsarina Alexandra from her mother, Princess Alice of England, who in turn had received it from her own mother, Queen Victoria. The Russian heir's condition brought the tight-knit imperial family even closer together, but was also understandably a source of severe anxieties and despair for Olga's parents. Desperation over Tsarevich. Alexei's hemophilia also contributed to the Tsar's and Tsarina's dependence on the reputation of the charismatic Siberian peasant, Grigory Rasputin, as a faith healer, a factor of major historical significance. As for Olga, she loved her little brother unconditionally, as did all Alexei's other sisters, and felt intensely protective of him.
As the Tsarina struggled to produce a healthy male heir, in 1912, Tsar Nicholas began to put a motion for the line of succession to be changed. The solution was for Olga to be co-regent with her mother, until Alexei was of age to rule by himself. He ordered this manifesto to be publicized throughout the country, following the 1913 tercentennial celebrations, placing Olga in a position traditionally occupied by the male heir, thus announcing her political significance. American newspapers reported that it is now considered that the law of succession may be changed in Russia to make it possible for Grand Duchess Olga to succeed the imperial family. The Duma blocked the change in succession, and it is speculated that the amended Regency Act caused public opinion of the Tsar to deter, with many believing the act meant that the Tsar did not trust his male heir to rule Russia. It exposed an instability in the crown. In her memoirs, Mariel Buchanan, daughter of the British ambassador to Russia, describes the physical appearance of the 15-year-old Olga at an imperial ball in 1910. That evening, She wore a pale pink chiffon dress of almost classical simplicity. A silver ribbon was bound round her golden hair, which was parted in the middle, and her only jewels were a string of pearls round her slender neck. She had not the regular features, the almost mystical beauty of her sister, Tatiana Nikolaevna, but with her rather tip-tilted nose, her wide laughing mouth, her sparkling blue eyes, she had a charm, a freshness, an enchanting exuberance that made her irresistible. In November of 1911, Olga Romanova was turning 16, which was considered the coming of age for Russian aristocratic girls. Every young girl impatiently awaited this event, as it was the time of her first grown-up ball, her coming out to the world. A grand dinner and gala party was taking place on that day at the palace in Livadia at the Crimea to celebrate Grand Duchess Olga's landmark event. Unlike her sister Maria, Grand Duchess Olga did not often talk about wanting a large family, a husband, and lots of children. However, it is evident from her diaries that she was a very romantic girl, who often idealized the young men she developed crushes on. During the winter of 1913-14, after Olga just turned 18, several royal young men were considered as potential husbands for her. Among them were her cousin Grand Duke Dmitri, Prince Arthur of Connaught, and even briefly Edward the Prince of Wales. When the Crown Prince and Princess of Romania visited Russia, they brought along their eldest son, Prince Carol, and everyone anxiously awaited the announcement of his and Olga's engagement. The Romanian royals stayed at Tsarskoe Selo for several days, but in the end, nothing came of this venture. The Grand Duchess and the Prince evidently did not click. Olga mentioned this visit briefly in her diary, and the impression we get is disinterest at best. The coming of war marked a great change in Olga's life. Instead of the social activities and balls of peacetime, Olga and Tatiana joined their mother in training as military nurses or Sisters of Mercy. Working together in their contribution to the Russian war effort, no doubt strengthened the strong sisterly we-two-I bond between Olga and Tatiana. As she and her sisters volunteered in hospital wards, the friendships made opened her eyes to the general opinion of her father. She asked her lady-in-waiting, "Why has the feeling in the country changed against my father?" wondering if there were more ominous reasons for the unrest and ferment that she sensed rather than knew about, which filled her with a growing anxiety. One of these friendships was with a young soldier named Mitya. Olga spent a lot of time with him, taking photographs of him and friends, having long conversations, and eventually falling in love with him. Mitya claimed he would slay Rasputin to save her family from embarrassment, an opinion remarkably different to that of her family. But the war, nursing, and her anxiety wore on Olga over time. Prone to depression throughout her life, it became clinical, leading to her discharge from the healthcare service. Her heartbreak over Mitya didn't help. He left the hospital after healing to go and fight in the war again. Olga became reserved, shy, and slept often. Perhaps if the line of succession did change in 1912, Olga would have become the Grand Empress, with no need for a male heir, and therefore no need for the mystic Rasputin to heal Alexei's hemophilia. The fall of the Russian crown could have been delayed, or not as aggravated by these conditions. In fact, with Rasputin, Olga remarked that whilst his murder was necessary, it should never have been done so terribly, and was ashamed that it was done by her relatives. Again, Olga understood the political ramifications of Rasputin's influence, but also that his murder could bring more shame to a family already losing support, showing that she was sensitive to ideas and understanding of the political situation her family were in. Olga Romanov's life ended tragically before her 23rd birthday, when she and the entire Romanov family were brutally murdered in the cellar of the Ipatiev house in Ekaterinburg.